This video will tell you very quickly some general guidelines for formatting a works cited page according to the requirements of the MLA Handbook 9th edition, otherwise known as MLA style. This video is essentially an expansion of another video on my YouTube channel titled Creating a Works Cited Page for Newspaper or Magazine Articles in MLA Style, and I have to create a shorter title for that video, but that's what it is for now. I recommend watching that video before you watch this one. If you're a student in one of my classes, you were assigned to watch the video earlier in the semester, so hopefully you've already done that. What a works cited page looks like for a paper that uses several different types of sources. The requirements differ a little bit depending on the type of source you're using. In this video, we'll talk about how to cite a few different types of sources. It is strongly recommended that you use Microsoft Word Online to complete any paper that requires MLA style. As I've said in other videos, TSC students have free access to Microsoft Word Online, and I've covered how to access it in a separate video. By setting the font type and size, I recommend using Times New Roman, and for students enrolled in my classes, that's what I require. Next, you should select the font size. I require students to use 12-point font, which is probably the most common for academic papers. You'll also need to adjust two settings related to line spacing. To do that, click on the icon that looks like three horizontal dots. Then click on line spacing, and then on line spacing options. You'll see a pop-up window, and here you want to click on the drop-down menu next to the phrase line spacing and select double. Next, click on the drop-down next to the word special. Select hanging. This sets up what's known as a hanging indent, which you'll see later in the video. Select OK. You'll start by typing the words Works Cited centered at the top of the page. Microsoft Word can center the text on the page automatically for you. To do that, click on this icon, and then select the icon that shows the text in the center of the page. Then type the words Works Cited. After that, press Enter to go to the next line, and reverse the process to align the text on the left side of the screen by clicking here. The citation is a formula requiring you to plug in certain elements from a source. This formula provides the required components of a citation for a newspaper or magazine article. All you need to do is look for the information at the top of any article and plug it into the formula. I referenced this formula in my earlier video on creating a works cited page, so I won't go through it again here. The focus of this video is on citing different types of sources, like you would do when writing a research paper. Different types of sources require slightly different citation formulas in MLA style. Here you see the one to use for scholarly academic journal articles. It starts out similar to the one used for citing newspaper and magazine articles. This is an article from JSTOR, and note that the elements of the article are clearly labeled at the top of this article, including all of the authors. One thing to note is that lots of scholarly academic journal articles have many authors, and you are required to list all of them on the Works Cited page. And there are the authors plugged into the Works Cited page. Next comes the publication title. JSTOR labels this as the source, FYI. And there it is plugged into the Works Cited page. Scholarly academic journal articles almost always have a volume number and an issue number, and you're required to include those in the citation as well. Here you see that information in our sample article. And it is required that you use the abbreviations for volume and issue exactly as you see them here. The next to last element in the formula is the article's page range. Also see that listed at the top of this article. And here you see the page numbers plugged into the citation. Also note here the abbreviation that's used to denote page numbers. The last element is the title of the database, and that's just something to keep track of as you're locating your sources. And there's the database name plugged into the citation. So I've just given you examples of two types of sources that you might use in an academic paper. There are lots of others. Keep in mind, however, that professors often put lots of limitations on the types of sources that may be used in a particular paper. If you're a student in one of my classes, that's entirely the case. See the assignment instructions for additional information, but a number of different sources will often meet the requirements for a particular assignment, and I'm not going to go through all of them in this video. Instead, I'm going to refer you to a resource put together by the TSC libraries. It's a very concise guide to MLA citations that shows how to cite a range of different types of sources. There's a link to it, and if you're a student in one of my classes, you've already been provided with this in Canvas. When you're all done, your works cited page should look something like this. Note in particular the extra space in the margin for citations that exceed one line. That's the hanging indent that we set up earlier, and it's important because if you don't do that, it's hard to see where one citation ends and the next one begins. It's also required that you alphabetize sources by the first letter in each citation. And that concludes this video on creating the works cited page in MLA style.